Hi, I'm Olivia Iovino, and I am the inventor of Zen Mittens and the founder of ZenMittens.com. And joining me today is a female entrepreneur and the founder of a woman-owned small business, Dr. Laura Lorenz. So if you could please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
Thank you, Olivia. It's such a pleasure to be here. So, my name is Laura Lorenz, and I am co founder and educator of a small business named Photovoice Worldwide, LLC. And I started it a little over 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago. We provide training and consulting in a method called photo voice, which involves giving cameras to people so that they can explore their environment, their health, whatever topic is of interest to you and the group, and perhaps advocate for change using their photographs and captions they write. So we do training, we do consulting, and we also create community around this method. It's been pop growing in popularity for the past 25, even 30 years, and is now used all over the world with many different types of groups. But it's still a challenge to design your own project, to make sure people will be safe doing it, and that you'll get good results. Be able to put on an exhibit, advocate for change. So creating community means also peer-to-peer continuing education in in the method, in using it, um, and creating a way for people to feel connected to others and not be so much alone using these methods.
Sounds wonderful. So how and when did you get your business idea?
Well, I first got the business idea way back almost 20 years ago when I had used photo voice as a method in my master's degree in instructional design and adult education. I used it with girls at Girls Incorporated in Lowell, Massachusetts, then in a township in South Africa with South African youth who were part of a nonprofit youth academy there. And then I got asked to develop a facilitator's guide with funding from the Annie E. Casey Foundation for Girls Inc. affiliates around the US and Canada to use photo voice. It's still being used today, almost 20 years later. And I realized, wow, there's something special and exciting about this method. It's not just me. And so I grabbed the URL photovoiceworldwide.com and .org, and it stayed quiet for quite a few years. I would say 16 years. It just had my URL, a simple website, not much going on there. And then when I finished my PhD in health policy and health services research and used photo voice also for my dissertation method, got a book published, all these things, I thought, now is the time. I am ready to launch this business and do these trainings and create community and do consulting online.
So
That
what steps did you take to turn that idea into a business?
Well, my first step was to go to visit the Small Business Administration. They provide mentoring services for small businesses, and ask, how do I establish myself as an official small business and as an LLC? So he was ready with advice. He had a checklist. He said, first get your tax ID, then get registered and pay a license in your state of Massachusetts, where I am, then get your business account, banking set up, and don't go to a bank where you already have an account. Go to a completely separate bank so there's no, you know, uh, confusion about your accounts. And so I did all those steps and started it. I had started the built up the website and started offering the trainings a few months earlier, and realized I did not want to just keep doing that under my own sort of tax ID and um, personal taxes. I wanted to do it as an official business. So it took me several months, even after starting the teaching online, to make that happen. Finally, get the motivation to make that happen. But the resources of the Small Business Administration were excellent.
With the wisdom that you've earned on the job, is there any path you took that turned into a dead end that a woman following in your footsteps would benefit from hearing about?
Well, one challenge that wasn't completely a dead end, but I would say ended up costing me more money than it brought in, was to go through the process of getting continuing education credits awarded for the courses. And that was good, I think, for a certain level of credibility of what we were doing with the online courses, but it was more costly than the return. So, that's something to think about. Do you really want to do it right away, or do you want to wait until a little later when you're more established? And if you do go for CEs, maybe there's better ways to market yourself and make sure that the disciplines that are seeking those kinds of continuing education credits know about you and can enroll. I think another challenge early on was not charging enough for the course. I had first taught this online course in 2018 through the University of Hawaii's Center on Disability Studies. And we got 14 participants, which was amazing. But there they said only charge this much, and it was a very low rate. So that's another thing, maybe do some research first to decide how you're going to price yourself.
So in your current pricing model, then how did you do the research to come up with what is a good market rate to attract customers, but also be able to have enough money coming in to grow your business and put back into the business?
Good question. So when we started working with our small business advisor, he was sort of saying, gosh, your price does seem awfully low. What are people charging out there? And he instructed me, guided me to go and do that research. And I found that there were about 5 or 6 different entities around the world at that time offering online courses, offering trainings. And I was able to calculate a per hour rate that they were charging. And this was for similar courses about research methods, qualitative research methods, photo voice even. And and I was charging 25 to 30% what anyone else was charging, which not only means bringing in less money, it also means people might go, gosh, if you're only charging that much, are you really any good? So I think it is important to do some of that research up front instead of just relying on someone like the University of Hawaii or whoever it might be saying, this is the price you should charge. Once you're independent and doing it on your own, it's good to do some research.
So what kinds of consultants have you used in developing and growing your business?
I have used people who've approached me. For example, a young woman who'd taken that first course at the University of Hawaii reached out to me a few months later and said, I want to work with you. I love photo voice. Do you have, can I help you? And at the time I was just independent. It was just me, but I thought, okay, why not? Let's, I can't grow if the business, if it's just me. So she started supporting the courses as I was teaching them, working hand in hand with me online during the sessions. And then I encouraged her to develop a module for photo voice for evaluation purposes. That's her area of expertise. And she did that. And she's been growing right along with me and right along with the business. Now teaching her own course, being a lead on some of the consulting that we do, for example. More recently, that happened again. Another young woman reached out to me and said, I love photo voice. Do you have any openings for me? She was just finishing her doctoral degree in educational psychology, used photo voice. And And so I brought her on as an intern first, which allowed me, which has been allowing me to get to know her better, and is she meeting, can she meet deadlines? Is she being responsible in her work? How do we get along? Are we compatible? And others also I've brought on as interns, and then they grow into positions in the company. So for me, that's a really good way to get to know people. So for internships, we advertise. We have a newsletter. We had an original mailing list of 100 that's now over 600 people. So when we do send out notices about things like internships or our business needs, we get responses now because um, people not only on our mailing list respond, but they forward it to their friends and colleagues, and then they may be responding to our calls for internships, interns, and new consultants to work with us.
Hmm. And I've seen that you have also some guest lecturers. How do you go about connecting with those and bringing those people on board?
Interesting question. So one is a mentor of mine. He was my mentor for the first Photo Voice project I did with Girls Incorporated, and he's a specialist in visual literacy, being able to read photographs the way you might read text, through their structure and messages and colors, all kinds of ways to analyze and photographs. So I had brought him on to teach a course in visual literacy. Another young woman who took the course with me, our foundations course, Talking with Pictures, Photo Voice. She's in Italy studying, getting a master's in counseling, and was a professional photographer organizing projects. So I asked her to teach a course on kind of therapeutic photography used with photo voice. So a kind of a blend of a photo voice for healing, if you will. So that's a course she taught. And then I went to a conference, actually a virtual conference, and heard a talk by a woman in England. Very interesting talk on her approach to analyzing the photos and text of photo voice. And so I knew that she taught, but I, just contacted her, reached out to see if she would want to teach with us. And she did. The course went great. We're now going to offer it for timing that's good for Australasia this fall.
Have you had any barriers specific to being a woman-owned small business?
At this point, I'd say the barriers are more, personal to me as a woman. One of them being how challenging it can be to balance a business and how much time and effort you want to put into that. If it's not bringing in enough money at the moment, but you need to earn money, you may need to do work on the side to bring money in, or maybe that's your main thing so far, and the business is aside, until it grows bigger. And then, of course, family responsibilities, household responsibilities. How do I balance all of those? So that's a challenge. I'd have to say sometimes the business suffers, or sometimes, I'm sorry to say, my partner suffers, or my household cleaning tasks suffer. But it's a process of finding that balance, and also respecting that investment I'm making in the business, and how much work that business needs. I need to respect that, and carve out that time to do it.
Hmm. And have you had any opportunities specifically because of being a woman-owned small business?
Not exactly, but that's in the cards. That's in the future here. I have taken advantage of disaster loans being offered by the federal government through the Small Business Administration. So that loan is going to help me grow my business, add a new course that doesn't need an instructor right there every minute. It's called asynchronous. People can do the course whenever they want. So that's a big investment to develop. I'm going to use the loan for that. And I also know that getting registered as a woman-owned business officially by the federal government means that I am eligible for grant opportunities that would normally only be available to nonprofits, but women-owned businesses that are certified as women-owned can also apply for that type of grant opportunities. So that's one of my next steps.
And what are your three best pieces of advice for women entrepreneurs, who are following in your footsteps?
Hmm. I would say a big thing is just be bold and brave. It can be very scary to think of a big idea, launch it, make it happen, but just do it. If you have these ideas, if you feel in your heart you're ready, just go for it. Do your best. I would say also seek advice. Going to the Small Business Administration was very helpful to me, but there may be many different types of resources available to you. So investigate them, get advice. And the third is to really follow your heart and your own intuition in making decisions, because you will probably get some conflicting advice. One person may say this, another may say that, and it's going to be up to you to decide what you actually do. So listen to many people, listen to the advice, do your research, and in the end, make your own decisions.
Well, thank you so much for that advice and for your time. This has been very interesting, and it's just such a pleasure to have the opportunity to hear all of this wisdom. If anybody is interested in hearing more about Photo Voice Worldwide and Dr. Laura Lorenz, the link will be in the comments for this post. And again, just thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Olivia, and looking to hear more great things about Zen Mittens as your
Oh,
business grows.
thank you so much.
Thank you.